All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to start this lesson by giving all praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rachak Urash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who taught us all this truth and who also rule and teach well. And Shalom to Allah Achim in his truth and sincerity, starting with the 144,000 and the 1/3 of the nation of Israel, which we are fighting to be a part of. And this is your brother Khabar Yakal coming back, Lord willing, with another quick edifying lesson. And basically, the topic of this lesson is just going to be going into the famine of the word. All right, the famine of the word, which of course, I'm going to get that in Amos 8 and 11. But as you can see, you see where I'm going with this. With this article, which I saw this on September 11th. And I wanted to do a lesson on it, but for some reason I didn't. But it was still on my mind to do it, and I still had a tab pulled up. So I was like, I might as well just do it. And basically, Esau has, which Esau is the so-called white race. The so-called white race, they're predominantly the biblical Edomites. And the reason why I said predominantly is because there are Israelites that look like white people, all right, so-called white people. You got the Irish, certain Italians, you got the Sicilians, Scots, so on and so forth. Basically, you got our people looking like so-called white people, all right? So who are our people? The children of Israel, which are you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. But, Esau Edom, I almost lost my train of thought. Esau Edom has something called order out of chaos. So basically, I'm going to just jump right into it. And instead of saying his name, just to keep it safe, I'm going to just say CK. Within minutes of CK's horrific, and I got to be careful, I might not be able to say that word either. Horrific, I'm going to just say blasting. Within minutes of CK's horrific blasting on Wednesday in Utah, video capturing the moment, a bullet, maybe I can't say that. Hey, F it, man. We're just going to keep it rolling. Because this is going into the famine. The fact that we even got to watch what we say is leading to us not being able to teach this word anymore, which that's a prophecy. The Lord is going to come a time. I'm going to get to those scriptures. Matter of fact, I'll start with that since it's, just and excuse, the way it looks. I changed it because it's more easier on my eyes when I'm, sometimes you're in bed, and you might be reading the scriptures, it was kind of hurting my eyes, so I had to change it. Hold on. What was I gonna get? Ezekiel 3. I believe it's Ezekiel 3 and verse 26. Ezekiel 3 and 26. And I will make thy tongue cleave to the roof of thy mouth, that thou shalt be dumb, which means to not speak. That's what it means to be dumb. The modern word for that is to be a mute, like you're muted, you can't speak. It says, and shalt not be to them a reprover. To who? The children of Israel, all right? It says, for they are a rebellious house, okay? So basically, I'm gonna read that last verse in the NLT. It says, but when I give you a message, I will loosen your tongue and let you speak. Then you will say to them, this is what the sovereign Lord, Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai says, which Yahweh is the Most High God, Yahweh Shai is his only begotten Son, who's coming back soon to save us. Lord willing, we're of the elect of the nation of Israel. It says, but those who refuse, it says those who choose to listen will listen, but those who refuse will refuse, for they are rebels. And that's where we're at right now. But it's gonna come a time you're not even gonna be able to listen anymore. If you didn't listen now, it's gonna be too late, in that day, because we're not gonna be speaking. There's not gonna be anything to listen to, because we're not gonna be teaching anymore. All right, the ministry is gonna change. It's not gonna be the way it is right now of going out on the highways and byways. That's gonna come to an end. That wasn't, it's not like we're gonna keep on going out on the highways and byways until the kingdom of heaven. It's gonna end one day, and it's gonna end right when Jacob's trouble in World War III fully kicks off. Okay, and when that chip, which is the MOTB of Revelation 13 and 16, is fully made mandatory. That's when we're not going to be speaking these words anymore. All right. That's when verse 26 is going to kick in. But right now, we're really in verse 27, because it says those who listen will listen. That's the elect. Those are the ones who the Holy Spirit led to either walk by camp, or, somebody told you about the truth. You started searching, or you might have just stumbled upon it on watching videos on YouTube. All right, or on some TikTok, because people post videos on TikTok too. So I'm gonna just continue on with the article. So surveillance cameras were rolling when I don't even know how to pronounce the name, but that was all a psyop, psychological operation. That wasn't even real. But this is all going into and the reason I say that is because there's so many videos that expose that, which I'm not saying to believe everything you see, of course. You got to use discernment, but it was just, in my humble opinion, notice I said opinion, I'm not saying this is 100% fact, but I strongly believe that was a fake event. That was that they brought up a damn what's that page that they got for actors? I think IMDb, something like that. Those pages where you could look at an actor's whole portfolio. They got that on this lady right here. She has an actual acting portfolio. It was brought up, but it says and the gruesome full video was later released publicly, and that's just the accuser of thy brethren too. Of course they're causing division. Like I said, order out of chaos, but they're also making Jake, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans the face of T, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? It starts with T, and it has error in it. But if you remember, I think it was last year or the year before that, they had that whole situation, and where was that at? Well, the so-called MS-13. They took over an apartment complex, which I believe that was set up too. I forget what that was. Oh, Colorado. But who was that? Northern Kingdom, so-called Hispanics. So they're just trying to make Jake the face of T. Error. It says these videos. Oh, it says whether users wanted to see them or not, videos of horrific moments have been flooding social media feeds over the past week because it's all order out of chaos. There's been gruesome videos on the internet since its inception, damn near. All right, I remember being a little kid, like 2007, 2008, 2009, watching, and kids at school would go on the computer in the computer lab and like show gruesome videos, gore. They're acting like this is some new, like people are just so sensitive, they can't handle it. It's not, But hey, it says have been flooding social media feeds over the past week. These videos have reignited calls for tech giants to exert more control over how content appears on their platforms, as some companies have scaled back their moderation efforts. So their whole goal, remember, with the elites Remember how the elites operate. They want total control. All right. That our apostles, mainly elder apostle Gabar, but our apostles, they always bring up that that interview with Alex Jones and Aaron Russo, and he said total control. That's the whole MO of the wicked elites. Had to rhyme a little bit. But says each platform has its own content rules, especially around particularly violent content. Most allow some violent content, but place restrictions on especially gory and bloody videos and restrict such content from younger users. It's gonna get to the point that everything's gonna be restricted, By default, social media sites like X, TikTok, and Facebook autoplay videos as users scroll, a tactic to immediately grab their attention. Unless that's how you know Esau's the devil too, because with all these platforms, like it just said, they use that as a tactic, as a tactic to immediately grab their attention. This devil weaponizes everything. That's how you know his blessing was the sword. He weaponizes everything. He weaponizes air. He weaponizes water, food. He weaponizes your own attention span. All right. And attacks our minds. That's why this Ephesians, it says, put on the whole armor of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. The trickery of the devil, the tactics of the devil, which the word devil goes back to the Latin, I believe the Greek diablos or diablos, which means slanderer or deceiver. All right. It says, but that can result in users being exposed to very sensitive and sometimes graphic content. Even this morning, videos of K's blasting were still being pushed to users' feeds. And like I said, they're acting like this is some, just because he had a name and a following. There's been people on the internet, like I said, from its inception, you could see gore videos, but because this guy had a name, it's that big of a deal. That shows you it's another agenda in the background. All right. And just for the record, we got to use wisdom. This is all speculation. I'm not saying this is 100% concrete what I'm saying, as far as not what the scriptures are saying, but as far as what I'm saying with this situation. But basically the point, I'll link this. Let me see if there's anything else I could read. Because basically we see where this is leading. All right, it says YouTube is said it's removing some graphic videos of the blasting, including those that lack context. So they're removing videos. Ultimately, it's going to be more control over the internet, and it's going to lead to the famine of the word. Because the truth, what we're teaching, the truth of the Bible, this is the biggest threat to their plans. So it's going to come a time they're going to have to try to shut it down. But ultimately, it's prophecy, and it's the Lord's doing. It's not their doing. The Lord just uses them on the left-hand side. All right. This is the facts. Let me see if there's anything else. I'm about to close this video out too. Medical experts warn that being exposed by carriers where some absorbs and directly impact people's mental, because it's all a psyop, man. It's all an attack on the mind. But that's not the point. The point is, this is gonna lead to this. I'm gonna get this one first. Amos 5:13. Therefore, the prudent shall keep silence in that time, for it is an evil time. So the prudent, which is the wise, the elect, aka those 5 wise virgins, I believe that's Matthew 25, when it goes into the parable of the 10 virgins. You know, five were wise, 5 were foolish. You know, that, you know, the prudent is speaking about the wise virgins, the elect, the ones who took the oil in their lamps, which is the truth. All right, the correct breakdowns of the scriptures. Okay. But it says they shall keep silence in that time, for it is an evil time. In the NLT, those who are smart keep their mouths shut, for it is an evil time. We're not going to be out there teaching when there's tanks rolling through the streets, when there's drones, robo-dogs, all right, gunning people down, chasing people down, you know, explosions, all right, Leviathan shooting fire out of his mouth, knocking down buildings. All right, we're not going to be out on the highways and byways and Leviathan's right in front of us, just stomping on the ground. We're out there teaching, holding posts. and basically Godzilla is just right in front of us, because that's basically what Leviathan is. You know, we're not going to be out there in that time. We're going to keep our mouths shut, because the Lord's going to, you know, put us up on game that now is the time. You know, now's the time to you know, to shut up. You know, now's the time to stop talking, to stop teaching, because that phase is going to be done. Now I'm going to end off with this one. Amos 8 and 11. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will, saith the Lord power, Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shah, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, but of hearing the words of the Lord, Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai. You're not going to be able to hear these words anymore. So get it while the getting is good. And they shall wonder. The day is speaking about the ones who didn't, you know, get this word while they still could. The scripture says, seek ye the Lord while he may be found. So when the day in verse 12 is speaking about those that didn't seek the Lord while he was able to be found, which is right now. And they shall wander from sea to sea, and from the north even to the east. They shall run to and fro to seek the word of the Lord, and shall not find it. They're going to be looking everywhere for us. All right? And that's why it says a man shall be made more precious than fine gold. That's one of the reasons why, as well as the Lord doing miracles through us, you know, the Lord being with us and protecting us, you know. But that's why the Lord is going to make us, you know, very sought after, especially by the woman, Isaiah 4 and 1. That's why 7 women is going to take hold of 1 man, because, you know, we're going to have this treasure with us. When I say treasure, I'm speaking about the truth, the 100% truth. We're going to have this treasure within our mind. You know, wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy time, and strength of salvation, the fear of the Lord is his treasure. So we're going to have the treasure in that day, so to speak. And all these other men, they're going to be getting, you know, blasted, you know, sent back to the spiritual world, you know, sent over, drafted to World War III, you know, to eat a damn warhead. All right. But the only real men that's going to be left standing in that day is the prophets of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, Ezekiel 33 and 33. So low in this lesson was that was it. I was just reading it if there was any more. Low in this was edifying, once again giving our praise to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, Bashem Yahweh Shai.